Hi, everyone. Welcome. Just take a few moments here for everyone to get settled in. All right. Yeah, thank you for joining us for another session of our Lunch and Learn series. Just want to give a quick heads up to everyone. We have started the recording and we will be taking screenshots as we go. I do want to let everyone know that Lunch and Learn is taking a break for the summer. So the next time we will see each other will not be until the end of September, but please do keep an eye out for our September invitations that will be coming from our new research assistant, sorry, Richmond. Daniel is the presenter today, but Richmond will be our new research assistant taking over the Lunch and Learn hosting. So yeah, keep an eye out in your email. Yeah, we have a pretty intimate group of people today. Last May session, I started the series to ask everyone to share what they're eating for lunch. I had another question to kind of warm us up into the conversation. And if you're joining from Treaty 7 of Calgary, we are under a water shortage at the moment. So my question for everyone, if you would like to share, is what's one thing you have been doing to conserve water? I personally have been okay with the less showers and the less laundry, but I'm really struggling with the dishes. So if anyone's doing really well on cutting back on the dishwashing, share those tips with me. I find it almost stressful to just see the dishes pile up in the sink. I've even tried storing them in the dishwasher and out of my sight, but the smell is not pleasant. So yeah, give me the tips. All in all, I'm really coming to realize how much water I really use in a day. And I think that even once the shortage is over and the tank is fixed, I probably will be watching my water consumption a lot more. So I think there's a silver lining to it. But yeah, is anyone else struggling with the water shortage, or is anyone absolutely killing it? Feel free to unmute, type it in the chat.
I've been killing it for the past 22 years now, actually.
Awesome.
For 22 years, I've been replacing water with Diet Coke.
Oh.
So I consider myself Calgary's representative of environmental health and all. Thank you.
I don't know what the nutritionists might say about that, but I think you're right. Technically, you're saving water. Awesome. I think Janine in the chat says using bath water to keep our flowers alive when it hasn't rained. That's a great idea. I'm gonna take a note of that. Jaya, you have unmuted. Did you have anything to share for your?
No, I was laughing at Daniel's way of saving water. I wanted to comment on that. That's amazing, but I hope no one else follows that. Maybe we need to wean Daniel away from that. But the water shortage has probably taught us a little about not wasting. I think that we took things so much for granted. We would, keep the tap open or not. When we are washing something or even rinsing something, the amount of water we use, and suddenly I realize for rinsing, you don't need to fill a cup to rinse it. You can do at 1/4 level. So I think it just opens your eyes to the various ways that you can survive, that we should perhaps not take things for granted.
I agree with you. Yeah, very good insight. In the chat, Vibha said, I wonder how many of us took our mayor's advice to drink beer instead of water. Was that a real advice? Using disposable plates and cutlery when possible. Yeah, Olfa.
So it
Good
was a
one as well.
joke. It was a Father's Day joke, actually. But yeah, in her little Father's Day little speech, our mayor asked, she suggested certain ways of how we can all conserve water. So that's where she said that we all can drink a little beer than water.
That works too. That works too. Okay. And Jeff, I actually knew this, but yeah, you installed a rain barrel. Ah, amazing, amazing. And you're in Victoria, you're not even in a water shortage. You're just a green person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing my
Awesome.
best.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we just have people trickling in as we go as well. But yeah, thank you everyone for sharing on the water conservation tips. I might consider the Diet Coke and the beer idea, but we'll see. Oh, Pratiksha did you have your hand up?
Sorry, Jessica, it was by mistake. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sounds good, no worries. Okay, so yeah, before we hear from our wonderful presenters today, Dr. Lisa Lorenzetti, Roxanne Singla, and Daniel Jamal from the Alberta Network of Immigrant Women, as well as University of Calgary, I do want to start us off with a land acknowledgement. So I want to acknowledge Immigrant Services Calgary's head office is located on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy and the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations. What we call the City of Calgary, Treaty 7, is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. And as always, if I could go over a couple of housekeeping with everybody. First is if you're not speaking, please do mute your microphone just to reduce background noises. If you're new to Lunch and Learn or the Microsoft Teams platform, the button on the screen is how you would mute or unmute yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function or the raise a hand function. I know our presenters have some time devoted at the end for the question and answer time. So if we can't get to them in the moment, we certainly will come back to your questions at the end. And as mentioned in the beginning, a few photos will be taken for our social media posts that does get uploaded on Gateway's LinkedIn and Instagram pages. Our sessions are also recorded, but they're only sent to those who attended the session. But if you're not comfortable with any of these options, feel free to turn your camera off. And lastly, if you want to invite your colleagues or friends to our monthly Lunch and Learns, you can share the links to the registration page that was sent to you via email, or either of these QR codes will lead to that page. The registration page is updated regularly, so you can sign up for the upcoming September and November sessions using the same link or the QR codes. And yeah, I think we used to do our monthly polls, but because the last couple of the polls were lower than 50%, so we will skip over the refresher and the Gateway and K-Hub. However, we do have our K-Hub website launching very, very soon, so keep an eye out if you want to learn more about these initiatives. Okay, and Roxanne, if you're ready, I'm going to stop sharing here.
Oh, it will actually be Daniel who will be sharing the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Are you, Daniel, I noticed you joined as an external. Do you have the function to share?
Yes, I believe I do. I'm just gonna take care of that here.
Huh?
Share. Oof, Teams is new for me. See if I can do this. Right, everyone can see my screen, correct? Unboxing Men, community-centered and culturally relevant approaches to healthier relationships and violence prevention.
Yep, we can see your screen, Daniel.
Okay, yeah, lovely. I'm looking for the present, but there it is. I'll let Lisa kick us off here.
Oh, that looks good, Danielle. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. It's a pleasure to be here with my colleagues and friends, with Roxanne, Danielle, and also we have Jeff here, who is one of our founding members of the Alberta Men's Network. So that's exciting, and it's great to be here and to see you again, Jessica. And so lovely to be part of this, and welcome everyone. So as Danielle commented, this is our presentation today, Unboxing Men, and the idea of unboxing came from one of our team leads who talked about men having the opportunity to look within and unbox themselves. And so we thought we just really loved the idea of unboxing men. And so we're going to do some of that today. So we'll go to our first slide. And so thank you so much for the land acknowledgement today, Jessica. And I was told a long time ago that a land acknowledgement should be about a commitment to reconciliation as a settler. And so today, I just before I started the presentation, I just brought this this sage that was gifted to me, and I'm just holding on to it. It's a reminder to me of the generosity of the teachings that I've been offered and how appreciative I am, and also of my role. And what, you know, that role, and as we increase our roles in the community, you know, we have to centralize our work in decolonial practice. And I think this is really what our work is about today, and we're excited to talk about that. And so I am Lisa Lorenzetti, and so I'm a member of the Alberta Men's Network, also the Alberta Network of Immigrant Women, and I'm also an educator in the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Calgary. I am a settler from Italian heritage and an uninvited guest in this territories, and I'm comfortable with the pronouns she or they. And so I'd like to give the mic over to my co-presenters to introduce themselves.
My name is Daniel, and I was born in Soanhaki, which is Long Island, New York, the territory of Long Island, New York, and now I'm here living in Mohkinstsis, Calgary. And I'm a fourth year Bachelor's of Social Work student, and I'm also the research coordinator at the Alberta Network of Immigrant Women for the Promising Practices Project, which is a lovely extension of you know what Lisa and her gang had, women's well-being groups from the Alberta Men's Network. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roxanne Singlot. I'm a 1.5 Filipino Canadian, moved here 11 years ago from the Philippines, now currently residing at Mohkinstsis as well, Calgary. I am representing the Alberta Network of Immigrant Women as well today. And for this project, I'm one of the program coordinators together with Daniel. And I'm really pleased to be here, and thank you for the invite, Jessica. And it's nice to see you again, Jeff.
I'm just wondering if, Jeff, you want to introduce yourself as well, because you do have a role and you're one of us. So do you want to take a minute to say hi?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Halverson, he, they, and I'm coming from the Knowledge Hub satellite office here in Victoria, outside of Victoria, here on Tsuut'ina traditional territory through the Douglas Treaties. Yeah, so have been involved in this project in my past life and absolutely love this project, and am very excited to hear how it is evolving. So wonderful.
So thank you so much. And yes, and so, the project of working with men for well-being and violence prevention really emerged about over now it's 11 years ago. And I just wanted to take a minute to just thank and remember our beloved colleague, Dr. Vic Lantian, who was one of the founding members of this project and who inspires us to continue today. And so the Alberta Men's Network, sometimes we say we're like a ragtag, a group of social activists, but really we just emerged as a group committed to what a society looks like free from violence, and that was our starting point, is working just really across all genders, and from a feminist, anti-colonial, anti-racist, and human rights lens. And that was really important, as myself, who was a practitioner for 25 years before I went into the university, is how do we do this work differently that doesn't replicate colonial white supremacy in the work that a lot of people either can't identify, it's not relevant to their lives, or it at times is part of the structural violence threat. And so we were excited to start this work, and we're so excited to be part of the Alberta Network of Immigrant Women, and also the University of Calgary just supporting the research aspect of this project. And we'll go on to the next slide. So that's a picture of my partner with my daughter. Now my daughter's a teen, so looking very different, but just love this picture. It is a picture of safety. And this was part of the initial work among the men who joined, was that how do you do, as Dr. Vic Lantian said, how do you give something you never got? And so the idea is that the men that we were working with, many of them did not have that loving, caring father in their lives, or someone really for that role model. And so many of them were talking about, how do we do this from scratch? So this is a picture from scratch of someone who is in my family who's doing fatherhood from scratch and building as you go. And so when we got together as a group, we started thinking about, is it really violence prevention that we're looking for? That's kind of the lingo that's used in the community. And we thought further about this as a peace building project, because it's not just about individuals or families, it's really about the very societies that we're building together, which we look to as equity-based societies and just societies. So we're really quite ambitious about that. We'll go to the next slide. And so the original group was led by primarily racialized immigrant men, Indigenous men, racialized and white women. And then we invited some men in, white men who were involved in an anti-racist stance, someone like Jeff, right, who could be trusted in that space. And so the men and women, the group right there that you see standing there, got together and we said, let's do that. We're talking about this well-being and this violence prevention and these how to have healthy relationships. Let's find out what other Albertans are saying, what other Albertan men are saying. So the very first survey of its kind was developed in the community to ask men what are the barriers and enablers for well-being and healthy relationships for men. We'll go to the next slide. Those are pictures of us sharing the results. And so we were shocked. We thought, okay, a few hundred might respond. Well, it was over 2,000. And it just kept growing. We actually shut the survey down while it was at its peak. The media was involved. Everybody wants to know what men are thinking about well-being, and no one ever asked. People are asking about violence perpetration and what types of violence is used. That's important too, but what about the prevention aspect? And so we had 50 community-based researchers we trained, and they went everywhere. The Buddhist temples, the Latino churches, Indigenous spaces, and they were people in the community who were trusted. So of course people responded, and we had a really great response from the community, including 30% of men who were immigrant. We had gay, two-spirit, bi, queer men responding. We had different age groups responding. And so really people thought this is an important survey for this province, and I would say for Canada. We'll go to the next one. And so, surprisingly to some of us who'd been counselors in the field, we're like, oh, men don't want to go for help, blah, blah, blah. And well, we got that turned around quickly because almost everybody said, yes, men need help. And the important statistic is that 70, so that's 3 out of 4 men said they really don't know where they would go. How would they get that help? And so I thought, okay, we're just not, that help is out there, but we're just not, either the help's not the help they need, or else we're not sharing that knowledge with them. So we'll go to the next slide. And so just very quickly, and there's more that we could talk about with this study. This is really the grounding for the wellbeing groups that we're hosting. But what we saw, these were some of the top enablers for by community. We looked at Latino, South Asian, African, Canadian men. We also looked at Indigenous men. And really across the board, family and financial stability or good job was really the top enabler for across the board, regardless of ethnicity, age, etc. What we saw different, though, in the barriers to well-being is when we looked at the Latino men, the South Asian men, basically anyone who's a racialized person, discrimination would move up as one of the top 5. So this is important for us to understand the power of systemic racism, structural violence, credential negation, all of those things in the lives of these men and the barriers to well-being. So we'll go next. And so this was an interesting surprise for us too, is that, we had almost, close to 50% of the respondents saying, yes, men do have a role in violence prevention. They could see a role for themselves. A small percentage said, no, it's really nothing to do with me. But there was that 44%, almost 50% that said, I really don't know. And so how do we reach out to those men and speak with them and kind of, support them in developing their role? And that's what we're doing in this project. So we'll go to the next one. Importantly, peer support, healthy role models. These were some of the top indicators for men of how they would like to have support. And so this resonated quite a bit with, the Alberta Men's Network group, because they were also talking about, who do I learn from? Who can I talk to that I trust? Who's a good role model in my community that's good with their families, that we know, they're managing their relationships, they're good communicators. And so peer support, healthy role models, in addition, of course, to the core issues of wealth inequality, financial stability, and of course, counseling was really important as well. We said men don't want to go for counseling. Well, counseling was put out there many times as an important service for men, and of course, multiple supports. And we're happy to share the full report in the chat. Go next. Yeah, and so from that, we got together our group. We're like a little group, underfunded group that could, and so we continue to do work primarily oftentimes on volunteer time and just love and commitment. But we ended up putting together this well-being group, and Fanny Oliphant is not here with us. She is a psychologist from Mexico who has worked with Latino communities for years. Some of you may know her. And she'd been doing this group in the community for men already, just a community-based group. And so we kind of cobbled together all of our experience and put together this group and evaluated it as a promising practice, because we thought there's some magic in the community. People just don't know about it, right? And I think that is the raison d'être of our group, is that the answers can be found in community. We just need to support those to emerge. And so we did an evaluation. I think Jeff was part of that with the first group in Spanish. And then we've now trained, you can see there, I won't read out all the communities, but facilitators have been trained from a variety of communities. And they're doing the group. We do have a manual, we have a process, but each group is different. Danielle will talk about that a little bit more, but each group is going to be relevant, specific to the culture, the language, what's comfortable for the men who are in those communities. And it's been quite wonderful to support those trained leaders to offer those groups within their communities. Yes, and so I'll just talk quickly about what. So this is, you know, I'm not going to go over everything, but these are the core topics. So it's a 10-session group. And there's core topics for each session, which you can read here. I'll just point out a couple of them. One is the idea of learning to be safe. This is a fantastic process, I think, for each and every one of us, is just like identifying when we feel safe and when we don't. And how are we safe for one another? Right. And this has multiple contexts. Safety is quite huge and multiple contexts for safety. And so these are starting points for starting to really reflect and identify ourselves. And oftentimes it does lead to issues that we talk about in session 4, which is family of origin. Because family of origin oftentimes leads us back to experiences that we felt unsafe, and how we act and react to those feelings of safety oftentimes as adults end up emerging sometimes in as coping strategies which aren't healthy for ourselves or others. And so it's a wonderful process that also connects with the intersectional experiences that primarily immigrant racialized men endure in their own lives. And so that is important, and that's often missing from our. I worked in with groups for men in the shelter system, etc. Oftentimes those intersectionalities were missing, and those are prioritized in our work. And let's go to the next one. And so these are our session formats. And so the format is the same. The teachings are different every week. What's really interesting is that each week the participants make a commitment. Like, this is a commitment. I'm just gonna practice this commitment for a week. One commitment. It's hard, right? This change is not easy, but you have this group to come back to talk about how that commitment went, right? And so there's strategies, there's teachings, but there's a lot of reflective activities. It's an experiential group. It's where people get together to practice and build relationships. And so this is the primary format for each group. Okay, and yes, and so I think that that is it for me. That's the background, and I will turn it over to you, Danielle, to continue.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so who are these men actually? These male participants in our men's well-being groups are primarily racialized men from diverse ethnocultural backgrounds, many of whom are married and represent a mix of those in both positive and challenging relationships. These men, much like really most of the world, come from places where patriarchy is embedded, and we all are experiencing this, and these men, they experience it as well, right? And so it's critical that we acknowledge that there is patriarchy that's a part of the intersection of their identity as well. These men also, often experience high stress levels and face issues that, when it comes to communication and emotional expression, they state, and they encounter significant structural and systemic barriers that we have to acknowledge as well. When we talk about mental health and men's well-being, we have to acknowledge these structural systemic barriers: discrimination, racism, dissonances of the past, current, and future states, lack of recognition, credentials when they come to Canada and such, being downgraded in who they are, their talents, their skill sets, their abilities and capacities. And yet, despite these struggles, these men exhibit a strong desire to change and confront the lack of recognition for their credentials, which are frequently being downgraded. But as we saw through the Alberta Men's Survey, they have that desire, that drive to change, and to be a part of this stuff and to lead stuff like this in their community as well. And I'm thrilled to share with you some insights from the men's well-being groups. We've witnessed some remarkable growth and transformation and leadership among the men. And so let's delve into 4 key outcomes that highlight the impact of these sessions. The first one is learning and skill acquisitions. So in these men's well-being groups, there was this consistent buzz of excitement about the valuable lessons learned. Across all surveys, the men are actively engaging in practicing positivity, mindfulness, and honing their communication skills. And it's just very inspiring to witness their dedication to such personal growth. The second outcome is interest in specific niched topics. Our discussions have revealed a common interest in coping strategies for stress and navigating unsafe situations. And beyond that, there is this deep hunger we found for deeper dives into topics like the impact of technology on their children and how that affects their relationship with their children, how to access and where to access additional mental health support, migration trauma, and tackling porn and sex addictions. So it's clear that our men, they have they're eager to have more of these conversations. The third outcome was an appreciation for the supportive environment. So one thing that consistently comes through um, is their gratitude for the environment that not only we really fostered, but that they fostered. In the first session when we talk to the men about learning to be safe, and our facilitators talk to them about it, it's not telling them what this is what we have to do to be safe. The men decide together collaboratively as a team. Okay, what should we not do? No sarcasm, no challenging or invalidating each other's experiences. From my experience in this group, this is stuff that we share. And so the men create a proper, trusting, safe space for themselves. And in talking about safe spaces, I should mention that it's true. Many of the participants expressed how they found a sense of safety within the group. But when we talk about safety, what do we mean exactly? It's not just another place. It's not just another locker room or basement where they feel the safety, the emotional safety to reproduce or re-exacerbate or be integrated within cultures and groups and clings that are patriarchal or misogynistic. It's not it's not that kind of safety. It's not just another place to impulsively share things that might be misogynistic. No. It's a different kind of safety. This is a place where they could trust and be vulnerable with one another and break away from the norms and pressures of what men talk about, what men should act like, what men should be like, and if you're not like that, you're not a man. It's breaking away from those locker rooms and being vulnerable with one another. So in a societal context where isn't always encouraged, this is a type of safe space that they created for themselves. And these men have embraced that, the opportunity to open up and share their struggles and support one another without judgment. And the fourth outcome is changes and renewed intentions. And to me, this is perhaps the most heartening outcome. It's the tangible behavioral changes in the intentions reported by the men. They're not just learning in the sessions, they're applying these newfound skills throughout the week, whether it's maintaining a positive mindset, breathing techniques, actively listening to others, prioritizing self care activities. The men are making real strides towards personal improvement. And it's very inspiring to see this. And so, to give an example from a specific group, here we have the Bhutanese men's well-being group, and in this safe and brave space they found for themselves, you know, they found that facilitating in their native language was most impactful. They found that active listening and empathy helped cultivate a sense of community and solidarity. They found that there are cultural nuances that shape men's perspectives on well being and masculinity. There is no one size fits all approach to the conversation, to self care, to personal improvement. No, there are always cultural nuanced perspectives. And they found that it is a must that we're providing ongoing support and resources that are tailored to the Bhutanese men and the Bhutanese community. Here are a couple of the quotes from the participants. Um, one participant was asked, "Okay, what will you do? What will you practice this week?" And they said, "I will practice looking in the mirror, which causes me great pain as my internal talk is very negative regarding my looks and how others might perceive me." One participant was asked, "What do you want to talk about next?" They said, "Men, specifically Filipino Canadians, are experiencing a lot of struggles in family, life, careers, and have the capacity to cope, yet some need these capacities to be strengthened." Another man was asked, "What did you learn from this session?" "Never run from the problem, always deal with it slowly." Another man was asked the same, "Changes will happen, but keep up with changes will help. Sharing is important." And lastly, this last man was asked, "What would you like to talk about next time?" And they answered, "How we can manage our behavior during unsafe moments and the recollection of previous incidences." And I'll pass it off to Roxanne to talk about the women's group.
All right, Daniel. Thank you so much. So yes, circling back to how Lisa opened this conversation, it took them 11 years. That's a very long time to put on this kind of work. And one of the things that really struck me was with this gender-based violence prevention work that's been happening all around, not just within our agencies, but across communities. Women have been a part of that, a strong supporter of those causes. And yes, so that's why in this project, we decided, okay, let's take a look at the women. So we've been taking a look at the men. Now it's time for the women as well. And just really the idea that how else can we support women in GBV, and how else can we contribute into this cause? So that really was the rationale into extending it to the women too. In terms of the session format, it is the same as the men's. So still the session format that Elisa has shared earlier, it's still the same for the women. But of course, there are things that we modify to fit, gender roles. I know for the women, we had to really have them later in the day because they are caregivers. They're the main caregivers in their families, and they are only available at a very specific time. With that being said, we did finally finished our first cohort just this May, actually. And we had 9 individuals from that group from the following communities: so Philippines, Bhutan, Nepal, India, Eritrea. So those were the initial communities that got engaged with this project, and we are now on the second recruitment phase. So we're still looking for women who are interested to be trained for this peer support for um, gender-based violence prevention. Now, Daniel, if you could please go to the next slide. Thank you. So I'm just going to share, this is very preliminary results, impressions of some of the data that we have received from the surveys with our first cohort just this May. Really, these are the answers that they have given when asked, after taking this training, what are you doing differently in your life? So that's the question, and these are their responses. There are 4 themes that are really going on. Some of them were surprising, at least for me, from my perspective. Some of them not so much. Like, for example, self-care right there. We know that, well, I guess a gender trope is that women are, go, 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 go. You don't take a break. You're a mother, and then you're this, and then you're that. And really, through our conversations, women said that, you know what? I really need to take time for myself. Like, I really do a lot. And that realization for them and other women realizing the same thing in the same safe, brave space was quite powerful. And they have, taken some steps to reduce their stress and practice some mindfulness and breathing exercises. And there's just a quote down there to showcase that. So one of the women said, I started appreciating myself first thing in the morning, was something that she said that she has started doing during these trainings. And then I guess what was quite surprising for me was this other one, this theme right here on self-awareness. Because then again, there's the gender trope of, women are very much self-aware compared to men, and all this kind of things that I guess we as a society also perpetuate. But the women said that actually not so much, because even for them, this kind of conversations about gender-based violence prevention, they have said that through this training, they have been more thoughtful about their actions, and they have been more thoughtful about the part that they play in conflict and the reactions that they have during conflict. And then just the last pieces there as well on improved communication and improved interpersonal relationships. Um, I guess not so surprising, but there are certain parts that to me was like, oh, that's really interesting because most of the women in our cohort were mothers. So some of the things that they're shared here, for example, with the improved interpersonal relationship, one mother said that, she has started teaching her children by example how to do active listening. So, not just telling them, but actually embodying the values herself. And then for the improved communication, active listening was such a great thing. This is probably my favorite among all the sessions because the women got to really practice what active listening looks like. And then for them to have realization, oh, I didn't know that when someone's talking to me, I'm already making up responses in my head. And just that self-awareness piece again and realization was just so powerful. And then expressing hurt feelings, another not so surprising of, you know, uh, we really bottle up all of these emotions, all of these frustrations. But through this training, women share that they were able to, in a healthy way and in a mutual way, express their hurt feelings and be able to have more meaningful conversations with the people in their lives, especially their husbands and their children. So yeah, that's some of the reflections from the first group that we have done, and we are excited for the next groups. And just to end it off a little bit, and if we have time, I think Lisa would like to take some time as well. But just in acknowledgement to all of these individuals, I know there might be more there that are not included, but this is just a list of individuals and just really a showcase of it. It really does take a village. It takes so many people for this kind of work to happen. And just going back to what Lisa said about, that magic and community. So yeah, off to you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Roxanne and Danielle, for an awesome presentation. Just because we have a bit of time, I might share a few more words and we will show you a short video of one of our other projects that's related to the same sort of our larger goals as a group. I think what's important, a couple of things about what makes our work, our movement unique is that all those names there that you see, this is not the work of one person. We don't have one person who is really the face of our initiative. The face of our initiative is many of us. And so oftentimes people in our group will say, I'd like to present on behalf of the group. I would like to share what I'm doing. And we would get behind that person and support them. And so it could be someone who's been with the work since the beginning, like myself. It could be someone who started a little bit later. It could be someone new who's just joined and we say, yeah, you're the right person to present. It's, you can do that. You can take up that space. And so we really, I think we trouble the issue of expertism, both in our work as a group, as a movement, as an organization, and also within the groups, because I myself, have led a number of groups, even parenting groups when I didn't have kids. So, I knew nothing, let's put it that way. I was quite surprised about what parenting is actually about when I had kids. But I wanted to say that one of I think the powerful aspects of our work is that the men, and now will be the women, who are leading the groups are peer supporters who are also in a growth process and are quite open about that. And so as myself, who's been a counselor for many years, you come in with a certain aspect of expertise that people expect that you're there as an expert. No one ever thinks you're struggling. We're all struggling in some ways. And so the honesty about that I think compels the other group members to say, this is kind of somebody like me who might be a little bit further ahead, right? Like a near peer type of approach, but this person also is learning. And what's fascinating about the debriefs that we do have amongst ourselves and with our group facilitators, some of them could not be here today, unfortunately, is that they will say, from this other man who is a participant in the group, I learned to do something at home differently. And I think that is the power of what we do. We open the space for everybody to be a leader in their own way. So I just wanted to share that as a final comment. Danielle, Roxanne, do either of you have an additional comment before we go to our short video? Okay, well, we'll be available for questions after the video as well. And Jeff, feel free to jump in. And we'll turn it back to Danielle.
I'm excited. This is a great video. I can't wait to share it with you all. Yeah. That box.
Maybe while Danielle's finding it, should I say a couple things about the man box?
Yeah, please introduce.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you know what? Here it comes. Maybe I'll wait until you see the video and maybe we can share a little bit about it afterwards.
Okay.
I don't think there's audio on our end.
Yeah, this is an issue with sharing screen. Hey, how can we, does anyone know how to fix this?
Yeah, we don't hear it.
So when
Jessica,
you
it's in the
click
chat. Oh, go ahead. I was just
Oh, yeah.
wondering if you wanted to do it and then it would make it
Yeah.
easier.
I can absolutely do that. Let's do that.
I just popped in the chat that this is where I moved from teaching about meditation and well-being in my classes to actually doing it and benefiting from it myself. So
it's often spoken.
We do that backwards sometimes as social
Yeah.
workers.
Knew it in my head, but I didn't do it.
Yeah, awesome.
Can everyone see the video?
I see myself.
I don't see the video.
I must have shared the wrong screen. I apologize. Let's see.
The man box was coined 10 to 15 years ago to really describe that the box that society puts men in. We live in a patriarchy, and because of that, society itself puts a lot of pressure on men to behave in a certain way. It's often spoken about like men don't cry, work hard, be tough and strong. And times are changing.
In 2016, the Alberta Men's Network and the Faculty of Social Work designed a men's survey. The survey asked men, what do you need to feel healthy? What do you need to experience well-being and have a good relationships without violence? Over 90% of men said that men need help, but over 75% didn't know where to go. And oftentimes the help that they're looking for is the support of other men, people to look up to, people to talk to.
How do we want to support men? The idea was, let's give them a box, and then let's ask them to put on the outside of their box, what are those things about their masculinity that they want the world to see? And then on the inside, what are the things that they don't really want to show the world about themselves? Let's tap into this whole societal construct that men put ourselves into to be in a certain way and see if we can kind of break out a bit.
I migrated in Canada 2008, and lucky enough, I secured a good job here in Alberta. Up to this time, I've been looking for the meaning of why I'm here. My box is very personal. It talks about my dreams. It talks about my advocacy in life from the childhood, from moving here, my visions of activism, helping the migrant sector, and also who do I want to go with this dream. Like inside the box, there is this handprint of me and my son. It's very symbolic because I want to take my son the journey that I have been through. This project allows me to introspect, I was so lucky to experience those kinds of things. As I grow up, makes me who I am today, and I don't want to change that. I really recommend this project to other men or fathers that are having trouble of opening up, not only to others but also to yourself. Sometimes there are some things that you haven't discovered yet. This one box, it's one way of showing, hey, it's okay, this is me. And when part of me is I wanna share to you, I wanna let you know.
Well, there it is. And so hopefully you've enjoyed that. We do have other videos if you go to our YouTube channel, Alberta Men's Network, and we have also a Facebook page, which we can share with you. And so, Jeff, do you want to talk about your experience with the man box? I'm putting you on the spot since you're here and you did do a box for us.
Sure, yeah. I think it was quite the experience to kind of think it really kind of highlighted for me so on the outside, it's a physical box, and then you put all of the things about the how you face on the outside. And then on the inside, it's more authentic about who I was. And my experience of that was seeing the contrast between the two, and kind of it was an opportunity to reflect about why am I on this way on the outside and this way on the inside, and seeing all those pressures that I perceive and experience, and how I can um, yeah, kind of think about living a more authentic life, making the inside and the outside look more similar sometimes. And it was doing it again, like writing papers about it is one thing, but physically doing it was quite a different experience for me. It had a lot more emotion to it, that I wasn't expecting as well. So yeah, the process of it was powerful.
Thanks, Jeff. And so this man box was something we did during COVID when everyone was in isolation. So we would just drop off the boxes with the art supplies and in front of people's doors, run away for social distancing, and then we all came together on a Zoom call. So it was a way of reaching out to people who really, all of us in different ways, were struggling with mental health right at that time. And so it was a way of reconnecting. So I think we'll end there. And all of us are open for questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. If anyone has any questions, I've been monitoring the chat. Feel free to raise your hand as well.
Hi there, I'm Paul at the Pregnancy Care Center. Next week will be Mainsprings, and that's a long story as well. I'm wondering if this is an ongoing project or if Manbox was more of an isolated event. I wonder what an incarcerated population how they would respond. I wonder if that's been considered, taking this to prisons.
Thank you so much. Maybe I'll respond to that question. And so since the Man Box first started, we have had several requests from organizations, community leaders, even teachers there to replicate the Man Box with their population. So it's been done with youth, Indigenous youth. We've had the Man Box be a project with a school in BC. And our view has always been, yes, please take it and run. And so we have shared the sort of the instructions for the man box and some of the information that would help people do the man box. So we're, we're kind of an initiator of things. As I was commenting, we don't have a lot of funding, so we like to come up with some good ideas, share them with the community, and hope that the community will take it and go. So the answer is no, it hasn't been done, but yes, you're welcome to do it, and we'd love to see that. It really is an impactful project, and it breaks down the idea of people sitting in a room talking at each other and that discomfort that can come with that level of sharing. But when you're working shoulder to shoulder doing a project and at the same time sharing, it really is a very different experience for I think that we've seen for men and in particular youth.
If nobody else is asking questions, maybe I can just give a little bit of information on our transition to Mainsprings. Some of you may know about the Calgary Pregnancy Care Center. Some of you may not. I work mostly with dads, with men, and not surprisingly, a lot of men are not finding our services because it's been Pregnancy Care Center. The idea is, what is there for me there? So one of the motivations for changing our name to Mainsprings is that it'll be Mainsprings Pregnancy and Family Support. So now, earlier in the presentation, you were talking about people not being able to find where they're going to access supports, resources, and that sort of thing. Pregnancy Care Center is going to be in the past. Mainsprings is our future. And Google searches or whatever search engines people are using, you're going to find more logical responses at a place called Mainsprings Pregnancy and Family Support. We do have a number of dad classes, and I'll think about reaching out about the man box and doing it with some of our clients here. It could be an interesting activity.
That sounds great. Well, congratulations on the change. Yeah, we look forward to speaking with you.
I will send all our attendees today the links that was shared. So the Alberta Men's Network YouTube channel, the website with the survey, the 2 researches, as well as the unboxing stereotypes YouTube videos, and the recording of today's session as well.
Nice. Yeah, just before we kind of, if we are wrapping up, well, I guess one thing about the man box process that Lisa kind of reminded me of was the coming back together to see how similar all of our experiences were of the outside compared to the inside, and how the there's all these things that are going on with people that you have no idea about, and so having that that safe space to share those things that are happening on the inside was really a beautiful experience, beautiful moment. So I was very happy to be involved in that. And then my other thought is, so moving into, we are taking a break with a Lunch and Learn series, but coming into the new year, we're going to have presentations on anti-racism in settlement services, as well as one on political advocacy and how settlement organizations can take those anti-racist advocacy efforts. So we're having John Shields from the Toronto Metropolitan University, who was involved in a project for, I think, 5 years on organizational capacity, funding, and how to advocate for justice for the clients that we're supporting. So yeah, do you want to add anything, Jessica? Those are kind of 2 of the highlights for the fall. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, it might come from somebody else, but it will still be immigrantservices.ca email, so keep an eye out. Oh, we still have people coming in as we go, but yeah, I guess to wrap up, just a huge gratitude for sharing such an important survey and what a impressive workshops that you've developed out of those results. I think, Lisa, you started by saying you wanted to approach this in a new way. And when you were sharing the steps of the workshops and seeing that the very first session is on safety, I thought that was breaking grounds, because I'd imagine that's probably not a concept that's often afforded to men. And we should always talk about safety and establish safety and validate safety across genders with peers too. So yeah, I was getting chills as I was listening to this. It's a very, very inspiring project. And thank you so much for joining us today to share about that.
Well, thank you for
Okay.
having us. We appreciate everyone listening, and yeah, get in touch with us. Roxanne and Danielle are really the leaders of the project. They're the coordinators of the project. So I'm like, get in touch with them. They are the ones we're leading. So thanks so much.
Awesome. All right, everyone, have a great rest of Thursday. And see you in September.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
See you around, Jeff.
Yeah, bye, Roxanne.